The Silent Watchers. The quantum sensors aboard the Concordate observation post Zenith 7 had never registered anything quite like this. Commander Narek Kell's crystalline eyes reflected the holographic display as she studied the anomalous readings from the Sol system for the third time. Her iridescent scales shifted from their usual calm blue to a troubled amber as she contemplated the implications. "Run the analysis again," she ordered, her four-fingered hand trailing through the projection. "Something isn't right about these energy signatures." The station's AI compiled the data once more, but the result remained unchanged. The supposedly primitive Earth system was leaking traces of quantum manipulation far beyond what should be possible for their observed level of technology. It was subtle, so subtle that it had taken the Concordate's most advanced detection systems nearly a decade to notice the pattern. Lieutenant Vax, her second in command, clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. "Perhaps it's a natural phenomenon we don't understand. The humans still use chemical rockets to reach their orbital stations. Their most advanced AI can barely play simple games. They're centuries away from quantum engineering." Nyara's scales rippled with uncertainty. The Galactic Concordate had been watching Earth for over 200 years, carefully documenting humanity's slow crawl toward the stars. Their assessment protocols were thorough, time-tested across thousands of emerging civilizations. Yet something about these readings challenged everything they thought they knew about human technological progression. "Show me the temporal comparison," she commanded. The holographic display shifted, revealing a timeline of Earth's energy signatures over the past 50 years. To an untrained observer, it would appear random, the expected chaos of an industrializing world. But Nyara had spent her entire career studying pre-contact civilizations, and she saw something else in the data. There, she highlighted a section of the display. "These fluctuations aren't random. They're too precise, too regular. It's almost as if..." She paused, her auxiliary heart skipping a beat as the realization struck. "It's almost as if they're being deliberately generated to mask something else." Vax's antennae twitched with skepticism. "Commander, are you suggesting the humans are capable of technological deception on a planetary scale? That's impossible. Their entire civilization is transparent to our observers. We monitor their global communications, their energy grid, their orbital activities." "Do we?" Nyara challenged, her scales now pulsing with deep purple, the color of intense focus among her people. "Or do we monitor what they want us to monitor?" She expanded a segment of the data, highlighting a particular pattern. "Look at their power consumption curves. They follow perfectly predictable models for industrial development. Too perfectly. It's like reading a textbook example of how an emerging civilization should progress." The implications were staggering. If she was right, if the humans had somehow managed to conceal their true technological capabilities from the Concordate's watchers, it would represent an unprecedented level of species-wide coordination and deception. Nyara made her decision. "Prepare a priority transmission to Central Command. We need to dispatch a probe fleet immediately." A probe fleet? Vax's scales paled. But that would violate all contact protocols for pre-FTL civilizations. The humans aren't supposed to know we're watching. "I suspect, Lieutenant," Nyara replied, her scales settling into a determined silver sheen, "that they've known about us for a very long time." The message she composed was brief, but would send shockwaves through the Concordate hierarchy. "Analysis suggests systematic technological masking within Sol system. Request immediate dispatch of deep scan probe fleet. High probability humans have achieved quantum manipulation capabilities. Exercise extreme caution. They are not what they appear to be." As the quantum-encrypted transmission departed through subspace, Nyara turned her attention back to the real-time feeds from Earth. Countless satellites orbited the blue planet, most of them appearing to be primitive communications relays or weather monitoring stations. But now she looked at them with new eyes, wondering what secrets they might be hiding behind their seemingly simple facades. The humans continued their daily routines below, maintaining their carefully crafted image of a species still taking its first tentative steps into space. Their televised rocket launches were dramatic affairs, full of tension and celebration over achievements the Concordat had mastered millennia ago. Their space stations were crude assemblies of metal modules, requiring constant maintenance. Their quantum computing experiments produced results that any Concordat schoolchild would find laughably primitive. It was, Naira now realized, a masterful performance. "Begin deep scanning of all human orbital installations," she ordered. "Focus on their debris fields first. If they're hiding something, that would be the perfect place, right in plain sight, disguised as their technological failures." The station's sensors recalibrated, probing deeper into the sphere of human-made objects surrounding Earth. Hours passed as the data accumulated, and Naira's suspicions grew stronger. The debris field wasn't random. Hidden within the chaos was a pattern, a deliberate arrangement that suggested purpose rather than accident. "Commander," Vax's voice carried an edge of alarm. "We're detecting unusual activity in the lunar shadow. Something's moving." Naira rushed to his station, her scales now pulsing with rapid shifts between colors, a sign of extreme agitation among her species. The dark side of Earth's moon had always been a blind spot in their observation network, deliberately avoided to prevent detection by human astronomical instruments. Now she wondered if that had been a mistake. The sensors painted a ghostly image of something massive emerging from the lunar shadow. It moved with a grace that defied its size, its hull seeming to drink in light rather than reflect it. No human design could achieve such perfect stealth characteristics. Yet it had emerged from their moon, and its design was unmistakably of human aesthetic. "Quantum signature detected," the station's AI announced. "Match found in historical database. Similar traces observed in Sol system anomalies from previous decades." Naira's primary heart nearly stopped. The humans hadn't just been hiding their technology. They'd been testing it, right under the Concordat's nose, for years. Each anomaly they'd detected hadn't been a glitch or natural phenomenon. They had been glimpses of humanity's true capabilities, carefully staged to appear random and insignificant. "They're not just ahead of schedule," she whispered, watching as the massive ship gracefully maneuvered in total silence. "They'd been waiting for us to notice." As if in response to her words, a transmission cut through their quantum-encrypted channels with impossible ease. "Greetings, Concordat Observation Post Zenith 7. We apologize for the deception, but we needed to be certain of our capabilities before revealing ourselves. Perhaps it's time we had a proper conversation about humanity's place in the galaxy." The message was delivered in perfect Concordat standard language, with nuances that suggested decades of study. Naira's scales shifted to white, the color of profound revelation among her people. The humans hadn't just been hiding their technological advancement. They had been studying their watchers just as carefully as they had been studied. As she prepared to respond to humanity's first official contact, Naira couldn't help but wonder what other surprises Earth had in store for the galaxy. One thing was certain: the Galactic Concordat's assumptions about emerging civilizations would never be the same. The game of hide and seek was over. Now the real dance would begin. The mask falls. The Concordat probe fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system, a formation of 12 crystalline vessels arranged in perfect tactical spacing. Fleet Commander Zora Vex stood on the bridge of the flagship Eternal Dawn, her scales a deep blue of focused concentration as she surveyed the sensor readings before her. The humans had made no attempt to hide their detection of the fleet's arrival. In fact, they had broadcast a system-wide greeting the moment the ships had appeared, complete with navigational guidelines and designated approach vectors. It was unprecedented behavior for a species that, until yesterday, had been classified as pre-contact. "They're directing us away from their established space lanes," Zara's tactical officer noted, his scales shifting through shades of confusion. "But our scans show no traffic in those areas." "No visible traffic," Zara corrected, remembering Commander Catel's warning about human deception. "Maintain formation and follow their suggested course. Let's see what they want us to see." As the fleet progressed deeper into the solar system, the true extent of humanity's masquerade began to reveal itself. What had appeared to be fields of space debris suddenly shimmered, quantum camouflage falling away to reveal vast networks of advanced satellites and defense platforms. Each piece of technology was a masterwork of efficiency, designed to appear as primitive junk until the moment its true nature was revealed. By the first light, Zora's science officer whispered, her scales pale with shock. Their entire orbital infrastructure is adaptive. Those aren't separate installations. It's all one interconnected system. The holographic displays filled with new data as hidden facilities revealed themselves. What the Concordat had dismissed as abandoned early warning radar stations transformed into quantum communication arrays. Primitive weather satellites unveiled themselves as atmospheric manipulation systems. Even the humans' much ridiculed space station, long considered an example of their technological infancy, shed its crude exterior to reveal a state-of-the-art research facility. Incoming transmission, the communications officer announced. It's from everywhere. The bridge's main display activated, showing a human woman in what appeared to be a formal military uniform. Her dark skin contrasted sharply with the silver insignia at her collar, and her expression carried the weight of authority. Fleet Commander Vex, the human said in perfect Concordat standard speech, "I am Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force. Welcome to Sol System. We appreciate your adherence to our navigational guidelines. There's quite a bit of classified traffic in the other lanes." Zara's scales rippled with a mixture of admiration and concern. "Admiral Chen, you seem to know who I am, yet according to all our records, humanity shouldn't even know the Concordat exists." Chen's smile held a hint of satisfaction. "Commander, humanity has been preparing for this meeting for over a century. We've had plenty of time to study your language, your protocols, even your individual command structures. It's amazing what you can learn when everyone assumes you're too primitive to be paying attention." As if to emphasize her point, new signals began registering on the Eternal Dawn sensors. Massive ships emerged from what had appeared to be mineral extraction operations in the asteroid belt. Others seemed to simply materialize from empty space, their quantum stealth systems making them indistinguishable from the background radiation until they chose to be seen. "Tactical analysis," Zora commanded, fighting to keep her scales from showing fear. "At least 30 capital ships detected so far," her tactical officer reported, with more revealing themselves by the minute. "Their technology. Commander, they're using principles we've only theorized about. Their hulls appear to be composed of programmable matter. Their energy signatures suggest zero-point power generation. And their weapon systems are pointed away from your fleet." Admiral Chen interrupted smoothly. "As I said, we've been preparing for this meeting. We have no hostile intentions toward the Concordat. In fact, we've been rather hoping you'd notice us eventually. There are matters we need to discuss." Zara studied the human admiral carefully. Everything about this situation challenged centuries of Concordat doctrine regarding emerging civilizations. The level of coordination required to maintain such a deception was staggering. An entire planet's worth of humans had successfully pretended to be less advanced than they were, all working together to present a convincing facade of technological infancy. "Why?" Zara finally asked. "Why go to such lengths to hide your true capabilities?" Chen's expression grew serious. "Because, Commander Vex, what's coming next requires careful preparation, and we needed to be certain we could trust our own technology before revealing ourselves to the galaxy. Your arrival here isn't just first contact, it's a warning." New data began streaming to the Concordat fleet's computers. Detailed scans of something massive moving at the edges of the solar system, far beyond what any of their sensors could detect independently. The images it revealed sent chills through every member of Zora's crew. "We've been tracking them for decades," Chen continued. "They're the reason we chose to hide our advancement. We needed to be ready, and we needed potential allies who could handle the truth without panicking. Your commander Catel's recent discovery of our quantum signatures suggested the Concordat might be ready. Zara's scales had shifted to pure white, the color of absolute astonishment. The sensor data showed thousands of objects, each larger than anything in the known galaxy, moving with purpose toward the outer rim of known space. "What are they?" she whispered. "We call them the Harvesters," Chen replied grimly. "And they're why humanity chose to become the galaxy's best-kept secret. We've spent the last 100 years preparing not just ourselves, but the entire solar system to be a fortress. Now we need to know, will the Concordat stand with us, or will you maintain the protocols that say we're too primitive to be worth your time?" As if to punctuate the Admiral's words, more human ships appeared, each demonstrating capabilities that shouldn't have been possible for centuries to come. They moved with impossible grace, their hulls shifting and adapting like living things, their weapons humming with power that made the Concordat fleet's strongest arms seem like children's toys. Zara thought of all the reports she had read about Earth over the years, all the careful observations and assumptions about humanity's technological progress. Every single one had been exactly what the humans wanted the Concordat to see. It was perhaps the greatest strategic deception in galactic history. And now she had to decide if this deceptive, ingenious, incredibly capable species was telling the truth about a threat that could end all civilization as they knew it. "Admiral Chen," Zara said, her scales settling into a determined silver sheen, "I believe we have a great deal to discuss." The chess game. The Grand Chamber of the Concordat High Council had never seen anything quite like this. 5 human representatives stood at the center of the vast, crystalline amphitheater, surrounded by the holographic projections of over 300 council members from across the galaxy. Their presence alone was unprecedented. No pre-contact species had ever set foot in these halls. But then, as the events of the past week had proven, humanity had never truly been pre-contact. Admiral Chen stood at the center of the human delegation, her pristine uniform bearing subtle quantum-shifting insignias that caught the light in impossible ways. Beside her, Dr. Marcus Rivera, Earth's leading archaeologist, adjusted his neural interface with practiced ease. The device was so seamlessly integrated with his nervous system that most of the council members hadn't even realized it was technology rather than ornamentation. High Chancellor Vress, her crystalline form refracting light in patterns that conveyed deep concern, addressed the assembly. "The evidence presented by the Earth delegation is disturbing. Not only their warnings about these harvesters, but the very fact that they have achieved such advancement in secret raises serious questions about our contact protocols." "With respect, Chancellor," Chen replied, her voice carrying effortlessly through the chamber's perfect acoustics, "your protocols are precisely why we chose to hide. They're based on the assumption that technological progress follows a predictable linear path. Humanity's history proves otherwise." She gestured, and the chamber's holographic systems responded instantly to her neural commands, another display of human technological integration that made several council members shift uncomfortably. The space above the delegation filled with images of Earth's history, showing moments of sudden technological leaps and innovative breakthroughs. "Humanity doesn't advance gradually," Dr. Rivera explained, his neural interface pulsing softly as he coordinated with the display. "We make quantum leaps in understanding, often in response to existential threats. When we discovered the ruins on Mars 50 years ago, we knew we had to accelerate our development." The images shifted to show vast underground complexes beneath the Martian surface, ruins of an ancient civilization that had faced the harvesters and lost. The data streams accompanying the images confirmed their age, over 50,000 years old. "The ruins contained warnings," Rivera continued, "but more importantly, they contained proof that conventional defensive strategies are useless against the harvesters. That's why we developed our adaptive technology, our quantum masking systems, our programmable matter. We needed solutions they wouldn't expect." Chancellor Vress's crystalline form pulsed with skepticism. "And you expect us to believe that humanity achieved all this advancement in mere decades? that you managed to leap past centuries of normal technological development. A new figure stepped forward from the human delegation, Dr. Yuki Tanaka, head of Earth's Quantum Engineering Division. Her eyes held the subtle glow of deep neural augmentation, but her voice was entirely human. Chancellor, humanity's greatest advantage has always been our ability to adapt and innovate under pressure. When we understood the threat we faced, we didn't just accelerate our research, we fundamentally changed how we approach technology. She raised her hand, and the air around her shimmered. Tiny machines, invisible until this moment, coalesced into a complex three-dimensional model of what appeared to be a solar system. We don't build technology to serve a single purpose. Everything we create is adaptive, capable of learning and evolving. Our ships aren't just vessels. They're living systems that grow and change based on experience. The model shifted, showing how human technology could transform and adapt to new challenges in real time. It was a fundamental departure from the Concordat's approach to engineering, where each device was carefully designed for specific, unchanging functions. Impossible, one of the council members declared, their crystalline form flashing with disbelief. Such systems would be inherently unstable. The computational requirements alone would be beyond anything in your experience. Chen interrupted smoothly, which is precisely why we succeeded. We approached the problem from a completely different direction. While the Concordat perfected conventional quantum computing, we developed organic quantum hybrid systems that can evolve and adapt like living organisms. The chamber erupted in overlapping discussions, countless crystalline forms pulsing with various shades of shock, disbelief, and concern. Chen watched them with the patient expression of someone who had anticipated exactly this reaction. High Chancellor Vress raised her appendages for silence. Even if we accept everything you have shown us, the ruins, your technological achievements, the approaching threat, it doesn't explain why you chose to reveal yourselves now. The harvesters, by your own data, are still years from reaching populated space. 3 years, 4 months, and 17 days, Chen corrected. And we revealed ourselves because we've confirmed something crucial. They're not following their usual pattern. In every previous cycle documented in the Mars ruins, they approached gradually, harvesting outer colonies first. This time, they're moving directly toward high population systems. She gestured again, and new data filled the chamber. Detailed tracking information showing the harvesters' trajectory. They're adapting their strategy, which means they've learned from previous cycles. We need to adapt faster. Humanity's technology and approach to warfare give us an advantage they won't expect, but we can't defend the galaxy alone. Dr. Rivera stepped forward again, his neural interface projecting additional data from the Martian ruins. The civilization that left these warnings had technology similar to the Concordat's current level. They fought conventionally, with standard tactics and weapons. They lost because the harvesters had seen it all before, but they've never encountered anything like humanity's adaptive technology. And that, Chen concluded, is why we're here. We don't just need allies. We need the Concordat's established infrastructure, your resources, your reach across the galaxy. Combined with our technology and unconventional tactics, we might have a chance to break the cycle. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity hadn't revealed themselves out of diplomatic necessity or cultural achievement. They had emerged from hiding because they needed partners in what might be the greatest military campaign in galactic history. Chancellor Vress's crystalline form pulsed with deep violet light, the color of crucial decisions. You realize, Admiral, that what you're proposing would require us to fundamentally alter our entire approach to technology and warfare. The Concordat has maintained stability for millennia by carefully controlling technological advancement. Yes, Chen replied simply. We're asking you to change everything about how you operate, because if you don't, there won't be a Concordat left to maintain stability. The harvesters don't negotiate, they don't show mercy, and they don't leave survivors. Humanity hid our progress because we needed to perfect our methods without interference. Now we're offering to share everything we've learned, if you're willing to take the risk of thinking differently. As the council chamber erupted in another round of intense discussion, Chen shared a knowing look with her fellow delegates. The real challenge wasn't convincing the Concordat that the threat was real. It was convincing them to abandon millennia of careful conservative progress in favor of humanity's radical adaptive approach to survival. The game had begun, and the stakes were nothing less than the survival of all sentient life in the galaxy. The human factor. Deep beneath the surface of Mars, in chambers untouched for 50,000 years, Dr. Marcus Rivera watched Admiral Chen run her hand along ancient hieroglyphs that still pulsed with faint quantum signatures. The Concordat delegation following them remained clustered together, their crystalline forms reflecting the ethereal light of humanity's portable quantum field generators. "This is where we found the first warning," Rivera explained, his neural interface synchronizing with the chamber's ancient systems. The species that built these facilities called themselves the predecessors. They were the first to detect the harvester cycle, but not early enough to save themselves. The walls around them came alive with holographic projections, showing scenes of devastation from 50 millennia ago. Massive biomechanical ships descended from the skies, their forms shifting and changing as they adapted to each defensive measure the predecessors deployed. They'd fought conventionally, Chen added, watching the ancient battle replay itself. Fixed defenses, predictable tactics, standard weapon systems. Everything the harvesters had seen countless times before. High Chancellor Vress moved forward, her crystalline form pulsing with deep analytics as she studied the recordings. These harvesters, their technology appears to be adaptive, like your own. Similar in principle, very different in application, Dr. Yuki Tanaka corrected, stepping out of the shadows where she'd been monitoring the chamber's power systems. The harvesters adapt through consumption. They absorb the technology and biological material of the species they defeat, incorporating useful elements into their own forms. But their adaptation is slow, methodical, predictable. She raised her hand, and a holographic display shifted to show detailed scans of harvester vessels. They're like a virus that evolves over multiple generations. Humanity's adaptive technology, on the other hand. She snapped her fingers, and her outfit suddenly transformed into environmental armor, then back again. We adapt in real time. The Concordat delegation's lead scientist, Dr. Xenri, moved closer to examine the displayed data. But such rapid adaptation requires tremendous energy and computational power. How do you maintain stability in your systems? Rivera smiled. That's where humanity's greatest advantage lies. We don't try to maintain stability. We embrace chaos theory. The chamber's displays shifted again, showing the complex mathematical models that underpinned human adaptive technology. It was a dizzying array of quantum calculations and probability matrices that seemed to defy conventional physics. Traditional engineering, like what the Concordat uses, focuses on creating stable, reliable systems, Tanaka explained. We took the opposite approach. Our technology is designed to exist in a constant state of controlled instability, always ready to shift and change as needed. Like a human mind, Chen added. Always active, always processing, always ready to make intuitive leaps that defy logical progression. We built our technology to think the way we do. The Concordat delegates exchanged troubled looks. The idea of intentionally unstable technology went against everything their civilization had built over millennia. "Show them the simulation," Chen commanded. Rivera nodded, and the chamber's holographic systems projected a new scene. A massive space battle between harvester forces and conventional defenses. The defenders employed advanced energy weapons, shields, and tactics, all useless against the harvester's ability to adapt over time. Now watch what happens when we add human elements to the defense, Tanaka said. The simulation reset, but this time, the defending forces included ships using human adaptive technology. As the harvesters attempted to analyze and counter each defensive measure, the human ships transformed, their very nature changing to present new challenges before the enemy could adapt. Our ships don't just change their tactics, Chen explained. They change their fundamental structure, their weapon systems, even their basic operating principles. The harvesters can't adapt to what we're doing because we're not doing the same thing for more than a few moments at a time. High Chancellor Vress's form pulsed with realization. You're not just fighting them. You're overloading their ability to process and adapt. Exactly, Rivera confirmed. The predecessor's ruins showed us that conventional warfare is useless against the harvesters. So we developed technology that breaks their fundamental approach to adaptation. They expect species to follow logical progression in their technological development. Humanity chose to be intentionally unpredictable. He led the group deeper into the complex, to a vast chamber filled with what appeared to be stasis pods. Each contained a different piece of human technology in various stages of evolution. This is where we test our adaptations, Tanaka explained. We simulate every possible scenario, every potential harvester response. Our technology doesn't just learn from these tests, it evolves, generating new possibilities we hadn't even considered. Chen stopped before one of the pods, which contained what appeared to be a small sphere of shifting metal. This is our latest breakthrough. We call it the Chaos Seed. It's a quantum organic hybrid capable of rewriting its own fundamental properties at will. One moment it's a power source, the next it's a weapon, then it becomes a shield generator. The harvesters won't be able to categorize it because it refuses to maintain a single form or function. The Concordat delegates gathered around the pod, their scientific curiosity overcoming their instinctive distrust of such unstable technology. But such devices must be incredibly difficult to control, Dr. Xenri observed. You're still thinking in traditional terms, Rivera said. We don't control them. We guide them. Like raising a child rather than programming a computer, each piece of our technology has its own form of consciousness, its own drive to evolve and adapt. Which brings us to why we really brought you here, Chen said, her voice growing serious. The Martian ruins contain evidence that the harvesters aren't just coming to destroy us. They're coming because they've detected something different, something that frightens them. The chamber's displays shifted one final time, showing complex quantum scans of human adaptive technology alongside ancient predecessor readings of harvester behavior patterns. They're coming straight for Earth, Tanaka explained, because our technology represents the first real threat to their cycle of harvest and adaptation. We're not just another civilization for them to consume. We're an existential threat to their entire way of existence. High Chancellor Vress moved to the center of the chamber, her crystalline form pulsing with the deep purple of momentous decisions. You're asking us to take an enormous risk, to fundamentally change how our civilization approaches technology, to embrace instability and chaos as virtues rather than flaws. Yes, Chen replied simply, because the alternative is extinction. The harvesters aren't just coming for humanity. They're coming for every species advanced enough to be worth harvesting. And this time, they're not following their usual methodical pattern. They're rushing, making mistakes, revealing themselves earlier than ever before. Because they're afraid, Rivera added. For the first time in their existence, they've encountered a species that can adapt faster than they can. And that terrifies them. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The Concordat delegates looked at the evidence around them, the ancient warnings, the revolutionary human technology, the clear signs of the harvesters' changed behavior. Everything they thought they knew about technological progress and warfare was being challenged. And time was running out. The Alliance. The massive holographic display in Earth's Quantum Command Center showed thousands of ships moving in complex patterns across the solar system. Concordat vessels, their crystalline structures gleaming, attempted to match the fluid, unpredictable movements of their human counterparts in a joint training exercise. Admiral Chen watched from her command platform as another Concordat formation failed to adapt quickly enough to a sudden change in human battle tactics. Their ships, while incredibly advanced by conventional standards, still moved with the rigid precision of machines following predetermined protocols. They're trying to predict our movements, she observed to her Concordat counterpart, Fleet Commander Zora Vex. That's exactly what the harvesters will do. Zora's scales shifted through shades of frustration. Our crews are trained to maintain formation, to execute precise maneuvers. What you're asking them to do goes against millennia of military doctrine, which is exactly why it might work. Dr. Tanaka interjected, her neural interfaces streaming real-time battle data. Look at this. She gestured, and a holographic display zoomed in on a particular engagement. A human destroyer had just executed what appeared to be a suicide run at a Concordat cruiser, only to split into 3 smaller vessels at the last moment, each attacking from a different vector. Impossible, one of the Concordat officers whispered. No ship can maintain structural integrity through that kind of transformation. Conventional ships can't, Tanaka corrected. But our vessels don't maintain structural integrity. They'd rewrite it on the fly. The entire ship is composed of programmable matter controlled by a quantum-organic hybrid consciousness. The display shifted again, showing the internal structure of a human warship. What had appeared to be normal corridors and compartments were actually vast networks of programmable matter, capable of reconfiguring themselves instantly based on tactical needs. This is why we need to merge our technologies, Chen explained. The Concordat's energy weapons and shield systems are more powerful than anything humanity has developed. But they're predictable. The harvesters will adapt to them quickly, combined with our adaptive technology, though. She gestured, and a holographic display showed a new simulation. A Concordat cruiser, its hull now laced with human programmable matter, fired its main weapon. But instead of a standard energy beam, the blast transformed mid-flight, splitting and recombining in patterns that would be impossible to predict or defend against. The initial tests are promising, Dr. Rivera reported, entering the command center with a group of joint human Concordat scientists. The integration of Concordat quantum crystals with our adaptive systems creates possibilities we never imagined. Their natural resonance patterns amplify our chaos-based algorithms exponentially. Zora moved closer to the display, her scales now showing the deep blue of intense concentration. But can your artificial intelligences handle the increased complexity? The power requirements alone? That's where you're still thinking too conventionally, Tanaka smiled. We don't use AI in the way you understand it. Our ship's consciousness evolved alongside their physical forms. They're more like artificial ecosystems than computer systems. The display shifted to show the neural network of a human vessel, a complex, ever-changing web of quantum connections that more closely resembled a living brain than a computer system. This is why we had to hide our development, Chen explained. If we followed normal technological progression, we'd have developed AI the way the Concordat did, as tools to execute specific tasks. Instead, we created something entirely new, technology that thinks and evolves like life itself. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the command center. New data streams poured in from the outer system detection grid. Multiple quantum ruptures detected at the heliopause, the sensor officer announced. Signal patterns matched the harvester signatures from the Martian records. Chen's expression hardened. How many? Initial count shows 50 vessels, varying in size from destroyer to dreadnought class. They appear to be an advanced scouting force. The command center erupted in activity as both human and Concordat personnel moved to battle stations. But Chen raised her hand for calm. This is what we've been waiting for, she announced. A chance to test our combined capabilities against a smaller harvester force before the main fleet arrives. She turned to Zora. Fleet Commander, are your ships ready to implement the integration protocols? Zora's scales shifted to silver, the color of determination. The crews are trained, the quantum crystals are in place. We can begin the merger process on your command. Chen nodded and addressed the combined fleet through the quantum communication network. All vessels, initiate Protocol Chrysalis. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. Throughout the solar system, Concordat ships began to transform. Human programmable matter, previously hidden in their crystalline structures, activated. The rigid, geometric shapes of concordat vessels became fluid, their very nature changing as two radically different approaches to technology merged into something entirely new. The harvesters are accelerating, the sensor officer reported. They'll reach Jupiter orbit in 6 hours. Perfect. Chen smiled grimly. Just enough time to complete the transformation. Humanity has spent 50 years preparing for this moment. The concordat has spent the last month learning to think differently. Now we'll see if the harvesters are ready to face something truly new. The holographic display showed hundreds of ships, no longer clearly human or concordat in design, moving into position throughout the solar system. Each vessel was unique, its form and capabilities constantly shifting as it adapted to its role in the coming battle. Remember, Chen addressed the fleet, don't fall into patterns. Don't stick to formations. Let the ships think and adapt naturally. The harvesters expect us to fight like machines. Show them what happens when technology learns to fight like life itself. As the combined fleet prepared for humanity's first real test against the harvesters, Chen shared a knowing look with her concordat counterpart. Everything they'd worked for, everything they'd hidden and prepared and evolved toward, had led to this moment. The game of deception was over. The real war was about to begin. The new dawn. The Harvester Scout fleet emerged from Jupiter's shadow like a swarm of mechanical insects, their biomechanical forms shifting and flexing as they analyzed their surroundings. 50 ships of varying sizes, each one a product of countless civilizations' consumed technology, moved with the confidence of predators that had never known defeat. In Earth's Quantum Command Center, Admiral Chen watched them approach on the holographic display. Beside her, Fleet Commander Zora's scales had settled into the steady silver of battle readiness. "They're scanning us," Dr. Tanaka reported, her neural interfaces streaming data faster than any conventional system could process. Just as the Martian records predicted, they're trying to categorize our technological level. "Let them look," Chen smiled. "Every scan they perform tells us more about their own systems. Our ships are already adapting." Throughout the solar system, the combined human concordat fleet remained hidden, their hybrid technology allowing them to exist in multiple quantum states simultaneously. To the harvester's scans, Jupiter's orbit appeared defended by conventional space stations and automated weapon platforms, exactly what they would expect from a civilization at the concordat's development level. "Their attack pattern is forming," Zora observed, her tactical training recognizing the subtle movements. Classic pincer movement. They still think they're facing standard defenses. Chen nodded. "All ships, execute Protocol Hydra. Remember your training, but trust your ship's instincts. They've evolved for this moment." Across the battlefield, reality seemed to shatter. What the harvesters had identified as simple defense platforms suddenly existed in multiple places at once, their quantum crystal-enhanced programmable matter rewriting the basic laws of physics around them. The human concordat ships revealed themselves not by dropping stealth fields, but by choosing which of their many possible states to manifest in. The harvester fleet's reaction was immediate and predictable. They began to adapt, their forms shifting to counter the perceived threat. But by the time their adaptations were complete, they were defending against attacks that had already changed into something entirely different. Multiple quantum signature changes detected in harvester vessels, Tanaka reported. "They're trying to analyze and replicate our technology." But she smiled. "They're copying what we were, not what we've already become." The battle unfolded like a dance of chaos and evolution. A concordat cruiser, its crystalline structure now interwoven with human programmable matter, fired what appeared to be a conventional energy beam. The harvesters raised shields tuned to that exact frequency, only to have the beam transform mid-flight into a swarm of quantum physical entities that existed partially in normal space and partially in subspace. "First blood," Zora announced as 3 harvester vessels were torn apart by attacks they couldn't categorize, much less defend against. Her scales rippled with excitement. Their adaptive algorithms can't keep up. But the harvesters weren't easily defeated. The remaining ships began to coordinate, combining their processing power to speed up their adaptation rate. New weapons emerged from their morphing hulls, copying elements of the human Concordat technology they'd managed to analyze. "They're learning," Chen observed, "but they're learning what we want them to learn." Execute Protocol Phoenix. The hybrid fleet's response defied conventional physics. Ships split apart and recombined in impossible ways, their weapon systems operating on principles that changed from moment to moment. A human destroyer transformed into a cloud of quantum particles, flowed through a harvester's shields as though they didn't exist, then reconstituted itself inside the enemy vessel. "Remarkable," Dr. Rivera breathed, watching the battle through his neural interface. Their entire strategic approach is based on analyzing and countering enemy capabilities. They literally cannot process what we're doing because we're not doing any one thing long enough to be analyzed. The harvesters began to retreat, their confidence shattered by an enemy that broke every rule of warfare they'd learned over millennia of harvesting civilizations. But Chen wasn't about to let them escape to warn the main fleet. "All ships, execute Protocol Omega," she commanded. "Don't let them transmit what they've learned." The hybrid fleet moved as one, their combined consciousness creating patterns of attack and adaptation that even their human and Concordat crews couldn't fully comprehend. Ships became weapons, became energy, became matter, became probability itself, each transformation bringing new ways to end the harvester threat. In less than an hour, it was over. The harvester scout fleet had been completely destroyed, without a single ship escaping to warn their main force. The cost had been minimal. 3 hybrid ships lost, their crews safely evacuated through quantum teleportation before their final transformations into pure energy weapons. "Analysis complete," Tanaka reported. "We've gathered terabytes of data about their adaptation processes, their base technology, their tactical algorithms. Everything we learned here will help us prepare for the main fleet." Chen turned to Zara, whose scales now showed the deep purple of profound realization. "Your crews performed admirably, Fleet Commander. They adapted to our chaos-based warfare faster than we expected." "They had no choice," Zara replied. "Fighting alongside your ships, seeing how they think and move, it changes your entire perspective on what's possible." She paused, her scales shifting thoughtfully. "The Concordat Council will have to accelerate the integration program. Every ship in our fleet needs this upgrade before the main harvester force arrives." "Agreed," Chen nodded. "But we've proven the concept. Humanity's adaptive technology combined with Concordat quantum engineering creates something even the harvesters can't predict or counter. We've shown them something they've never seen in all their millennia of conquest, an enemy that evolves faster than they can." The command center's displays shifted to show the aftermath of the battle. Debris from the harvester fleet filled Jupiter's orbit, each piece being carefully collected by specialized hybrid ships for analysis. But more importantly, the displays showed hundreds of hybrid vessels, each one now slightly different from when the battle began, having evolved and adapted through the combat experience. "This was never just about winning a battle," Chen continued. "It was about proving that life itself is the ultimate adaptive technology. The harvesters tried to perfect adaptation through consumption and analysis. Humanity chose to perfect it through evolution and chaos. To date, we proved which approach is stronger." Dr. Rivera's neural interface pulsed as he processed the battle data. "The Martian ruins warned us that conventional warfare would fail, but they also gave us hope, the hint that somewhere in the galaxy, a species might arise that could think differently enough to break the cycle. And now we have," Tanaka added, "not just humanity, but this alliance we formed. The harvesters expect civilizations to fight alone, to fall into predictable patterns of defense and defeat. Instead, they'll face something unprecedented, multiple civilizations working together, combining their strengths in ways that create something entirely new." The hybrid fleet regrouped, each ship slightly different, slightly more evolved, slightly more ready for the greater challenge to come. In 3 years, the main harvester fleet would arrive, expecting to find easy prey. Instead, they would find a galaxy united against them, armed with technology that broke every rule they'd relied on for countless millennia. As Chen watched her fleet continue to adapt and evolve, she smiled. Humanity had hidden its true nature for decades, waiting for the right moment to reveal not just their advancement, but their solution to a threat that had plagued the galaxy for millions of years. The real war was still to come, but today they had proven something crucial. The age of the harvesters was ending. The age of adaptation had begun.